You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may assert there's no waste in HHS.
That, Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted?
And this video shows that the mainstream media is not pro-American. Everything that they do is about stopping the American government from getting better. It's about stopping American citizens from being better served.
Who is in charge of DOGE?
The President of the United States.
He's the administrator of DOGE?
No, the DOGE is what was formerly U.S. Digital Services. It's an agency of the federal government that reports into the office of the Executive Office of the President, which reports to the President of the United States.
Okay.
The way that Article 2 works is a president wins an election, and then he appoints staff, including myself, including Mike Waltz, including Susie Wiles,
yes,
including Elon Musk, and those staff report to him.
Okay, well aware. So Elon Musk a week ago...
Okay, why did she ask the question if she was well aware?
Okay, well aware. So Elon Musk a week ago answered a question about transparency at DOGE. This is how he spoke about DOGE.
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the DOGE handle on X and to the DOGE website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent.
So you hear him there. We post our actions. All of our actions are maximally transparent. Does Elon Musk know he's not in charge of DOGE?
Again, the president runs the government, then the president appoints advisors, including Elon, including myself, including all the other staff here at the White House, and then those staff in turn execute the president's commands and directions to all the agencies of the federal government. This is how democracy works, something that we treasure in America. The whole American people go to the ballot box, they elect the president appoints staff, the staff then administer his orders and directives across the whole U.S. government.
Okay, Stephen, I get that, but this is important because we want to talk about who's making the decisions here. There were 300 employees, the National Nuclear Security Administration, you know about this. They were fired. The agency had to rescind those terminations because these were employees who were critical to maintaining the nation's nuclear stockpile. So then who is it making those decisions of which federal employees are terminated?
Well, in that case, the Secretary of Energy would be the one. So what you're describing with the cuts in the Department of Energy, those are directed by the Senate-confirmed Secretary of Energy.
Okay, so that was the Secretary of Energy's mistake.
Well, I wouldn't use the term mistake. I would say that it's pretty standard when you're downsizing government. You make cuts, you assess those cuts, you see who needs to be rehired, who needs to be kept, who needs to be
That's not what happened here, though, Stephen. You know that. They were rescinded. These aren't normal things. These were terminations that were rescinded.
I understand that even a temporary interruption in federal employment is a great crisis and catastrophe for you and for CNN. What the American people see is a government that is finally delivering a promise of accountability under President Trump. You want to have a conversation about transparency. Let me ask you a question. Do you have any idea where the $22 billion that the Department of Health and Human Services provided to illegal aliens under Joe Biden is right now? $22 billion with a B. That's enough to provide a free house to every homeless veteran in America. Where's the $22 billion? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Joe Biden just spent it, and now it's gone. Transparency begins with having an accounting of where every federal dollar is spent. And God bless President Trump for leading this effort.
Stephen, it seems like the crisis here had to do with...
She's not going to answer the question.
...the nation's nuclear stockpile. And for these particular federal workers, which I'm not, so this isn't my personal crisis, military members of the Guard and the Reserve...
I don't think it's a crisis and you don't think it's... Well, hold on. I don't think it's a crisis and you don't think it's a crisis, then why are we talking about it?
It is a crisis for some people. For instance, military members...
But you just said you didn't think it was a crisis.
It's not my crisis, Stephen. I'm not a federal employee.
Okay, so I don't think it's a crisis, and you don't think it's a crisis, so no one thinks it's a crisis.
It's not my personal crisis of employment. If you have concerns about the nation's nuclear stockpile, then it is obviously a crisis.
The concerns
it's an issue
when it comes to
Stephen, please, we're getting off track.
nuclear weapons, I think
Stephen, this is a very important question.
Well, if you want to talk about nuclear security, I'm happy to. The nuclear stockpile in this country has been aging and unmonitored for years. President Trump is committed to the modernization of our nuclear
DOGE,
stockpile and to historic investment in nuclear security. Additionally, the president is committed to preventing global nuclear war, which we have never been closer to than we are right now. And he is leading peace negotiations to end a war in Europe that could very well lead to a nuclear war, which is the worst possible nuclear catastrophe any of us could envision.
Okay, Stephen, so there are military members of the Guard and Reserve. They are protected by law from being fired from their day job while they're deployed. I have learned that at one agency, an employee who's actually currently deployed with the military has been notified they've been fired. Does your administration understand who actually makes up this workforce that they're dismantling?
I'm sorry, I'm confused by your question. Is your question, does the president have the authority to fire a member of the U.S. military?
This is someone who is a federal employee and is currently deployed, who has government protection. As I'm sure you're aware, there are laws protecting that.
I don't know what laws you're referring to. I would love for you to be more specific. So far, you're not telling me the employee, the agency,
Uniformed Services
the
Employment and Reemployment Rights Act. It's well known by HR in the federal government and in private industry as well.
So, okay, so you're saying that the president, in your view, doesn't have the authority to recall a member of the armed forces who may or may not, again, I'm the first time hearing of this, that may or may not be serving overseas?
Stephen, you understand how the Guard and Reserve work. They have a day job, and then when they're activated, they deploy. While they deploy,
right, but
that employment is protected by law.
Your question is lacking in so much detail. I promise you I'm trying to follow your question. Are you asking me if the president has the authority to remove a member of the military who may be serving overseas? Is that your question?
No, my question was...
Okay, well, I don't know how much airtime you want to spend on this, but I'm not following your question.
Well, I think it's an important one. I guess I'll determine how much airtime I spend on it, but does your administration understand who is in the federal workforce?
Yes, we have such a broad question. Of course we understand who's in the federal workforce. And I'm happy to indulge all of these very histrionic questions about anyone who may or may not be fired.
That it's 30% veterans?
But I think that
and that you have people who are deployed?
The U.S. government has $36 trillion in debt. The interest payments on the debt exceed the national defense budget. The American people are exhausted and tired of watching their tax dollars be corruptly spent, abused, wasted, and in every sense robbed and stolen from them. This president, for the first time in history, is committed to restoring accountability at every level of the federal government. You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may assert there's no waste in HHS.
That, Stephen, I don't think anyone...
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? Every day that no action is taken, the entire salaries of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is
we're not having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether there are places...
You are clearly trying to debate me, and I will be as excited as I want to be about the fact that we are saving Americans billions of dollars, that we are ending the theft and waste and grift and corruption, that we are stopping American taxpayer dollars from subsidizing a rogue federal bureaucracy that has been relentlessly weaponized against the American people.
Okay,
you
Stephen,
may not care about this issue.
I'm not talking about
your colleagues may not care about this issue, but we care about this issue. The American people care about this issue.
They also care about privacy.
And the American public overwhelmingly supports what President Trump is doing.
What's not talked about here, and of course, because I don't want to spook anybody, is we are on the precipice of a horrible recession, and we have not stopped the inflation yet. I would much prefer to see jobs lost in the public sector than a single job lost in the private sector. The Fed needs to see some job losses, or we're never going to see lowered interest rates. And I would prefer those job losses to come from inefficient public sector jobs, managerial jobs, white-collar jobs, if we have to let go of a single plumber, a single electrician, a single HVAC worker, because we want to keep these government employees working, then we have failed as a society. We have to trim the fat from these public services.
Let's talk about IRS data the DOGE will be able to access. You have DOGE asking for access to the IRS systems. This includes the integrated data retrieval system. I know you've talked about this a little bit. Will DOGE employees be able to access individual taxpayer ID numbers and social security numbers?
No. But also, keep in mind, you keep
Will
talking
they be able
about
to
DOGE
access
employees.
taxpayer bank account information?
They will not be able to access anything that any other appropriately authorized federal employee could access. When you keep talking about, quote, DOGE employees, you're just talking about federal workers. You're just literally talking about federal workers. Your question will be, can federal workers do their job? The job of the federal workers at the IRS is to prevent... Well, I'm telling you that is actually what you are asking. DOGE is part of the federal government. It is a term to describe the employees of the federal government who've been tasked with anti-fraud.
He is so 100% right here. And she makes this face like total bias or context is, I hate it.
You may not consider it a scandal are accepting and receiving taxpayer benefits. Again, you may not consider it a scandal that millions of illegal aliens are accepting and receiving taxpayer benefits. You might not consider it a scandal that millions of illegal aliens have stolen Social Security numbers and are committing rampant theft of American resources.
You say that you're looking at widespread fraud in the IRS data, and you mentioned yesterday, and you mentioned again here, illegal immigrants who are getting child tax credits. Are you looking for that information in the IRS data?
Anytime a crime is committed, of course there should be an investigation. Is it your position that if somebody who is
Stephen, are you looking
criminally
for that
is stealing
information in the
taxpayer
IRS
dollars,
data?
the federal government will find every illegal alien who is stealing American taxpayer dollars. And that is what Americans expect to happen.
Will you find that in the IRS
I don't
data
even
and
fathom
share that
the
with
premise
law
of your
enforcement?
question.
It's a simple question. Will you find that information in the IRS data and share that with law enforcement?
If IRS investigators find illegal aliens stealing taxpayer money, of course they'll be referred to ICE. Of course they'll be referred to Homeland Security investigations. Of course they will be. Surely your position is not that we should let illegal aliens steal taxpayer dollars. Again, you want to talk about something to be upset about, that's it. What do you think? The millions of illegal aliens who've also stolen Social Security. Illegal aliens in mass have fake Social Security numbers. They have fake identities. Those are felonies. Why should there be an entire class in this country that is immunized from criminal prosecution and arrest for committing felonies? Felony theft of taxpayer information, felony theft of Social Security, felony theft of identity. These are all crimes. And yes, they will be investigated. Yes, they will be prosecuted. And yes, illegal aliens will be deported. And you know what happens when those deportations occur?
Just very quickly,
is that Americans will get jobs, Americans will get benefits, Americans will get houses.
Stephen, if they got a credit, a child tax credit, and they will be referred, you're saying, to ICE for that, and you would expect deported for that? Is that the position of the administration?
If it is found that a crime has been committed, they'll be referred. If it justifies the prosecution, they'll be prosecuted. If it justifies a deportation, they will be deported. This will be based on existing IRS protocols and procedures for criminal investigation and fraud.
All right.
The difference is that
I am convinced CNN is hiring criminal defense lawyers at this point because they're doing the same thing that a criminal defense lawyer would do. They're defending crime that they know that their client committed. That's why I believe every single one of these anchors speaks monotone and looks dead inside.
No one is given immunity anymore. No one is given permission to break the law anymore. Because this is not a country, this is not a sovereign territory. If illegal aliens can freely steal billions, with a B, billions of taxpayer dollars. And I would have to imagine that CNN, which is endlessly talked about the importance of democracy and the rule of law, would say that no class in this country should be above the law, least of all illegal aliens who've trespassed on our territory.
No, Stephen, I'm just asking, I wanted to get your position on some things. We're not taking a position here. We wanted to get some answers to some questions. There are so many questions that need to be answered.
It doesn't sound to me like you are, in fact,
you.
indifferent or unbiased on these questions, but thank you.
Mainstream media is devolving into an anti-American institution. It seems as though everything we want to do to improve this country, they are against. No matter what it is, we're going to be the opposition to it. You can be in opposition to real things that are problems and issues, but when we're trying to actively make this country better and they're opposing it, that's a problem. It is as though we have been infiltrated by an enemy of the United States of America. That's what it feels like. Thanks for watching, everybody. By the way, if you're a small business owner or you work for a small business, local service, any type, send in some merch. I'll wear it in one of these videos. I really want to support locally owned businesses. If they're blue collar, that's even better. I'll wear it in one of these videos. Doesn't cost you anything. I'll put a PO box in the description in the next day or two. If it's not there, just wait a day and send those in, and I'll get them. I'll rock your merch. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake Day, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.